Hey everybody, welcome back to the vlog. So today we are live. We are here with Trevor Current. It's been very difficult to get this thing rolling. We just been struggling. A lot of hardware issues and driver problems, but all you guys sitting in the chat, I appreciate you hanging out the extra time to wait for us to go live with this. Anyways, we're going to try to push through this really quick. We were going to give it about an hour, but now we're probably going to give it about a half an hour. We're not going to keep you guys forever. Anyways, so before I go on, if you haven't went over to the Discord server, please go over to community.jcristina.com. Check it out, join, it's free. You'll be able to comment on these type of videos live and whatnot and ask questions. So we're going to monitor the Discord. We're also going to monitor the chat over here on YouTube. So anyways, welcome, Trevor. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we got it. Finally.
Wow, man, what a struggle.
Yeah.
Sometimes this technology, yes, the technology just gets you crazy sometimes. Well, anyways, we're doing this live video because it's almost a response to my video, my vlog that I did yesterday. And people just went kind of crazy about it. There's been probably 200 plus comments. And it was talking about photographers going out of business. And I had this rant that I just had to do because of a lot of clients have been coming to me lately and saying, we need you to do this, we need you to do that. Whereas in the past, I would just get all of the high-end gigs and the smaller stuff, it would just disappear. And come to find out, if you didn't watch the last video, go take a look at it. But to sum up, one of the clients that we had was using like an iPad and like this iPad thing, handing around, and the images were just coming out like trash. Bottom line, images, trash, does not look like this high-end company is producing this stuff. So they could not use these images anymore. And I just thought it was kind of comical, you know, because we do live in that era of good enough. And people really today think that they're going to be able to get good enough images with their cell phones, with an iPad. For a long time when the iPads came out, right, Trev, they were like, people were holding like an iPad up and they were doing movies, they were doing, it was just crazy. And then later on when they look at it, they're like, wow, this looks absolute crap. Okay. And that is it. And people are starting to figure this out. So this video here, this little live video that we're doing here, we want to address some of that. What can we do as photographers today, as creatives, to be able to rescue our photography or just creative business, and just kind of get into it a little bit and answer some questions. There's a lot of questions coming through already, I see in the chat window here. So that's what we want to get into. For me, that's my beginning to all this, my thoughts to all this. I want to hear like what you have experienced as of late, Trevor, because you are coming from it not as a photographer, but as a fellow creative that is now doing more on the web space, right, side of it. So anything that's going on that's similar to what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the web space has always kind of been along in parallel with the photography space. I mean, you know, we're creatives, we're photographers, we're designers, we're web guides. I mean, there's a lot of crossover there. And that's honestly, that's my background. I've been a designer, stayed in that space. I got into photography. I did a lot of photography in conjunction with design. So I'm very familiar with the creative space. And, you know, the web has become a DIY atmosphere as well.
Right.
You know, the likes of Squarespace and Wix. You see that every time you watch a YouTube video, right? You see these ads for Wix and create a beautiful website. Everybody's thinking that, you know, they can create this website themselves, that it's so easy. They can just sign up and load a template and put some content in and bam, it's done. And sure, you can do that. Absolutely. You can have a presence on the web working that way. But is that presence the best representation for your business?
Right.
Now, I do not, you know, seek business from companies that don't have budget. I mean, that's plain and simple. You know, you gotta go where the money is, and you gotta go where your niche is, where the problem is that you can solve.
Right.
That's what we are. We're as a creative, we're in the business of solving problems. Okay. As much as we want to think we're in it for the art, we're in it for the creativity. When you're in it for commercial purposes, you're in it to make money. At the end of the day, we're solving a problem. Couple are getting married, they need photographs of the wedding. We're solving that. So that problem solving process has gotten easier. Technology has made it so much easier for people just to pick up their phone and shoot a picture.
Right.
Everybody thinks that they're a photographer. Um, as far as the web space goes, I've run into this as well. There are a lot of people out there claiming to be digital agencies, to being web developers and all of this stuff, and they're putting together a templated website,
Right.
which is not horrible. I mean, it's not horrible. I mean, visually it's fine, but at the end of the day, it may not necessarily be solving the client's problem.
Right.
And that is where we've had to come in and rescue a lot of corporate clients that had websites created by other agencies, and they just did not work. They were broken. Every time they tried to update it, it wouldn't work. Every time they tried to post content on it, it didn't display in the right location. There is a lot of people out there in the business that maybe shouldn't be. But again, who's to say who should be in the business and not?
No,
And
absolutely.
the
No,
same is true
absolutely.
with photography.
Yeah, I see Robert Varner over here. He says people think that photographers just aim camera and push the shutter button. They have no idea about the work involved in post production. Absolutely, and just capturing the
Right.
image themselves. Capturing these images. You know, to make something great, you really need to know your equipment. So, can a professional photographer take a great image with an iPhone? Absolutely. But
Sure.
an amateur photographer can take an absolute crap image also with a 1DX that costs, four, five, $6,000. So it really, there isn't like a balance, I think, between the two. The problem that I'm seeing is that a lot of people are buying these cameras and they really think that they're professionals just because they have a quote unquote professional camera. A lot of times we'll show a piece of work and then the very first thing out of the mouth is, so what camera did you use? And as a
Right.
photographer, as a creative, that's like asking you, what software did you use to make that or to develop that website? It doesn't matter. It's the creativity
Yeah.
that went into it. It doesn't make a difference what was used, And this is what
Right.
is, I mean, very common today. And like I brought up in the last video with Apple and them saying that their iPhone X is going to give you studio portrait results. It is so far from being the case. It's crazy. Now,
Yeah.
the other side of that is if you have a professional using an iPhone X with all of the lighting, all right, and everything just right, yes, you could make an amazing picture. But the way they portrayed it was this girl just coming out like this, taking the picture, and now just using the app to make an image that's almost identical to what the professionals did. And it's disingenuous. It is really a bunch of
Yeah.
nonsense. And that's what I wanted to bring up. And I did like recently seeing that a lot of these companies that I work for are now recognizing it. So
Yeah.
moving on, let's say from that topic and more into the topic of, how do we rescue this? How do we rescue the photography business or your creative business? I think it all comes around, or it all boils down to education. And that is not only educating yourself as the professional, which you need to do continuously.
Absolutely.
Education is better than any camera or any lens that you can possibly buy. That's number one. But more
Yep.
importantly, the education has to be the other way also. You need to educate your client as to what is good enough work and what is your professional work, and show the disparity of the two. Because if you can't do that, you will never sell them on your service, period. Because they don't know,
Right.
they don't have a point of reference to distinguish what is professional and what is good enough work. So that is, and it's not an easy thing, but I think coming full circle and just looking at the problem at hand and how to rescue our businesses, it really comes down into education in a simple, just one word, but bilateral. Not just one way. You have to educate yourself, but you also have to figure out how to educate your client, because those are the ones that are going to be giving you the money in the long run, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to, I mean, I hate to say niche down in photography because, we all shoot different subjects, right? We'll do portraits, we'll do weddings and events, we'll do sports or kids sporting things or for the local town or whatever. I mean, we have the ability to do many different genres of photography. So saying to niche down into that is, I don't really want to approach it that way. But what I'm talking more about is the perception of photography is that it's easy. Well, and we know that it's not as easy as just pushing the button, that training is required,
Right.
Perfecting your craft. So what we have to do is find the hard part of photography, the part of photography that your average customer can't do or doesn't want to do themselves.
Right.
I mean, take for instance, years ago, we used to be able to work on our own cars. We could go out in the driveway and change the oil and change the spark plugs and the air filters, and we could do this and do that. And I used to do it. I love doing it. Now these things are so complicated. I've got a Ram pickup. I can't even get to half of my spark plugs. And the other ones that I can, you need a special tool to get off. So at this point, I'm looking at it saying it's not worth it to me to even mess with my vehicle. It just takes too much time. It takes too much effort. It takes too much training and expertise. So from a photography standpoint, what is that hard part that you can provide the service for your ideal customer?
Right.
And that's really the other part of that side is you need to determine, kind of like what that niche is, what that thing is that you can provide, and then determine who that ideal customer is and then seek them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone in the comments from last video said, food photography is still, where the pros can make money and, outshine, for example, the enthusiast. And yes, and that goes back into your idea of just, that niche that, just coming down to a specific thing that you're extremely, extremely good at. Okay. I made an example of the real estate photography and how I was doing a lot of $1 million properties, on the beach. I'm 20 minutes away. And those $1 million properties, so many of these people before coming to me had such a hard time selling the properties because all of these real estate agents are sitting there taking these pictures with their iPhones, all right, and showing this property with their iPhone. I would come in and I would say, you know what? You're going to pay me when you sell the house. And if and only if you make more than what you're asking for. And they're like, it's just a stupid statement. How is this guy going to do that? This is, what is this guy doing? And it was just a point because I've done it for so many years. I am confident that that will go down that way. I've never done a real estate job and not got paid to date. Even with this model, because the bottom line is when you create an exceptional photo of that $1 million real estate from angles that a iPhone will not see or the user behind the iPhone doesn't see, you can literally sell it for more. I would do detailed work of just marble, Italian stone work, just little things that you would not even think about. The fireplaces here in Florida, but there is some, the fireplace and the intricacies and all of the woodwork. And then of course the outside, you have the ocean out there, but is it a blown out picture? Or are you taking a picture of this sauna that's literally through a window and you can see the ocean? And is the whole backside completely blown out because you don't know how to balance light? Or does it feel like that sauna is now sitting not only indoors but outdoors at the same time and you can see the sun coming up? There's things that you can do that makes an exceptional picture. And when someone sees it, they're like, this is luxury. I need to bid on it. And this goes for food photography. It goes for product photography. I talked about hair dryer, just this brand new hair dryer that's coming out. And obviously, I can't talk about it, but it will be out very soon. Very cool, and it's nothing that you've seen in the in the past. Anyways, taking these shots, and in the past, they've just used just standard cameras. They don't know what they're doing, and they just didn't. It just didn't simply. It didn't work. Now that they have these high-end images, they are now in magazines. They feel confident to be able to get out there and sell it, and it's just selling. It's simply working because now they're getting a lot of people that are coming on board, wholesalers and large big box companies and whatnot that are buying into it. Whereas before, it was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of cool, whatever. So yes, you need to boil down to what you're good at or what you want to be good at and be exceptional at it. Just like I said in the last video, mediocrity is no longer acceptable. Be stellar or be nothing. You cannot be mediocre and expect to make money, especially in photography, in any creative work, because it's just simply difficult. It is difficult. It's not like you need a PhD to do it. Anybody can go out and do it. And number 2 or 3, you don't need a license to do it. All right. So that means anyone can get involved. Okay. Whenever you have a license to do something, it makes it a little bit harder. And having a little bit of barrier to entry would definitely help out photography in general. But we don't have that. So the only way is we have to, like cream, rise to the top so people want to use us, that look at the photos and say, wow, I can't do this. I need to hire him. So it's the same way with what you're doing with your web design, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have clients come to us again with websites that may not look, but they're not functional. They're not user friendly, and they miss the business mark for the client. They miss the objective of what they're trying to accomplish with it. So that's what we've really done, is we've taken it from, we're just going to create a pretty picture for you, to we're going to design a functional, multi-device capable, smartphone, tablet, desktop website that serves the business needs. We're going to host it. We're going to support it. We're going to update your software. We're going to take care of the security and the backups. We're going to do all of that so you don't have to think about it. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I can go get a $10 a month GoDaddy hosting account and just do everything over there. And absolutely you can. But your site is at risk if you don't maintain it yourself, because GoDaddy's not doing that. And everybody has this misconception that they think their data center is actually providing security for their site and doing backups for their site, and they're not. Most of them are not. So then we go a step further, because a lot more people are starting to do that, because that's the low-hanging fruit in our industry. These maintenance contracts and the hosting, that's the low-hanging fruit. That's the, quote, easy work. The next thing is the consulting on utilizing your website to generate leads, to generate more sales, to conduct e-commerce, stepping up, membership sites, protected content, all of that stuff. You're stepping it up to a next level. So now what we're doing is we're separating ourselves from the rest of the pack in the types of services that we offer, because they don't have the knowledge or the expertise to be able to do that. So they start falling. So that's where photographers need to go as well. Don't do more of the same. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Figure out how you're going to separate and elevate yourself from everybody else. And that's really hard. It's really hard. There's so much competition out there.
Yeah, I think that one of the other, obviously education would be number one. Bilateral education is very, very important. But I also think that business sense is equally as important, because we know as creatives, the majority of us don't want to talk dollars and cents, because we probably never liked math our entire life. And we're creatives, we're artists, and making money is not an easy thing for us, because we just want to create. We want people to love our work. All right. So business is very, very important too. And some of the, best photographers, when I say best, I should say the most let's say the photographers that are making money, those
Yeah.
photographers are good businessmen or good businesswomen. They are very smart at what they're doing and they know how to sell. You need to be able to sell yourself. If you can't sell yourself, no one will. You need to be able to sell yourself. And a lot of people can't do that, especially creatives. That's something to look into. Helmut says here in the comments, he says, today's smartphone photographers are full frame photographers of tomorrow. I had to start with a smartphone. And yes, we all start somewhere. The thing is today, that photographer that starts out with a smartphone will go and say, I can shoot this wedding with this thing. Or they'll start with a small point and shoot. And then next thing you know it, they're like, yeah, let me go and, capture this wedding. I can't tell you how many weddings that I have received over the years on DVDs. And the bride says, here is this DVD. And the photographer said he's going to give me all of these raw images. I don't know what raw means, but here's these raw images. When I open them, they look horrible. And I'm like, can you do something with it? And I'm like, well, how much did you spend on this wedding? This guy just like threw a DVD, $500. $1,000, whatever. Yep. And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of get what you pay for. They gave you all the images. Years ago, we wouldn't give any images, right? We would keep those and try to sell them after the fact. But these photographers are turning and burning them, just turn and burn, and weekend warrior and just crushing it, just sending out just absolute junk. I can't, sometimes, I've had one would cost over $1,500 for me to save probably about 50 images, literally rescue out of like probably 2,000, spray and pray, just horrid, a nightmare, okay? And just to come up with enough to make a small album for this bride. Of course, she was ecstatic, but it was god-awful, guys, god-awful. If she would have just hired someone, take that $1,500 plus the $500, you got $2,000, hired a photographer for $2,000, chances are she would have got a better book than what I was able to create with this junk. All right. This stuff is blown out, overexposed. The blacks are plugged. You can't rescue anything. It's pixelated. The stuff is blurry, out of focus. And then you have noise because they shot it with a camera that is not good in low light. So it's just a host of problems. So, and this is back to educating the customer on what they're getting. Say, yes, I'm doing this wedding for you. I don't do weddings, but let's just say, I'm doing this wedding for you. I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z, and this is my portfolio, and this is why you're paying what you're paying. You need to be able to justify. You need to be able to justify the price that they're going to pay. There's this value thing going. People now are looking not necessarily at the image per se, but they're looking at the value. How much am I paying for what am I getting? And the thing is when you look at these commercials, like from Apple and from all of these people that say, oh yeah, I could just use my iPhone. When they look at them, yes, if you're looking at the image on your iPhone, you're like, yeah, it looks good. But then when you try to print it, you're like, oh my God, the data's not there. It's just horrid.
Yeah.
So it's, once again, like I said, you need to be able to educate the client. If not, they're not going to see a need to pay for what they should be paying for you, your worth, your value. And I find that a lot of photographers are their own worst enemies. They go in at extremely low prices, and then later on, it's very difficult to come back. Once you start at a really low price, let's say with a company, it's hard to say, oh, I need to charge you an extra couple $100 now. It's not going to happen. You need to know where your market is, what people are charging, and you need to be around that area and not lowball. Like I said, you're hurting yourselves, and this happens all the time.
Yeah, I agree. That is one of the big problems with the industry right now, is that you've got so many photographers out there, so many people just trying to get a gig to get a little bit of experience, and they're going in their lowballing $500, whatever. And that is starting to shape the consumer's it has shaped the consumer's perception of what photography is worth. When, somebody does a wedding for $500, there's a ripple effect. because that person
Absolutely.
that they did that wedding for, maybe they did a decent job, right? Let's assume that they did an okay job and that the bride and the groom are happy with the results. So they're going to go out and tell people, oh yeah, we hired this person, they only charge us $500. Oh, wow, that's great. So maybe they tell somebody else. So now the running thing is $500. You can hire a photographer to shoot your wedding. You know what? You can. And it's the people that came out and started lowballing, um, is what affected the industry overall. And now it's very difficult to pull up that price for the same type of work. My feeling is, to a new photographer, somebody who's just starting, who doesn't have a lot of experience, who doesn't have a portfolio yet, I almost feel you're better off working for free and building your portfolio, as opposed to charging a low dollar amount and returning subpar work. Because at least if you don't charge anything, you're doing it gratis, and you tell them outright, I'm new, I'll do it for you for free. I'm using this to build my portfolio.
Right.
And if they opt to hire you to do, or to have you do it, knowing this,
Yeah, so be
well,
it.
that's so be it.
Yeah.
But it gives you a safe way your to build your portfolio.
Yeah.
Then to take it to the next level, once you build that portfolio, now you have to start looking at the industry in general. And you have to start looking at what professionals, I don't want to say the high end, but what the middle range is, what
Right.
people are charging. And then calculate out your price. How much do you want to make per hour? How many hours is it going to take you to shoot the wedding? How much time for prep? How much time for post?
Right.
Figure all of that out and come up with that price. After you've done enough weddings, and after you've edited enough photos, and after you've prepped for enough weddings, charged batteries, got your cards together, packed all your gear, loaded up the car, driven to these places, you're going to know how much time it takes to do all this stuff. And
Yeah,
you're going to start realizing, like, hey,
yeah.
this $500 is not cutting it.
Yeah, I'm getting $6 an hour by the time I'm done, and that happens all the time because people just don't understand, what the time is involved in doing some of this stuff. Michael S says, "I blame the hype on liars who mislead the public. I blame online comparisons or so-called testing of cameras that people do not own. That is definitely some of it. A lot of people, they'll go to YouTube and they'll take a look at different cameras, and you'll take a look at it and say, oh, this one's better than this one, and this one is better than that one, and oh, look what I've done with this camera. Well, you got to always take it all with a grain of salt, because a lot of these people that are on YouTube, they're not unbiased, and they are promoting or trying to get you to purchase something that they're an affiliate of so that they can make money. So you always have to, whenever you look at a channel on YouTube, you have to look at it and say, okay, is this person coming from an unbiased place, or do they have a horse in the race? That's number one. Also, LK says, some of my friends that do weddings, when basically he asked them, they're basically shooting like 1,000 to 1,500 pictures, and he says, well, how in the world can they do that? When he was shooting film, you're looking at 300 to 350 shots for a wedding. And that is the difference between today and yesterday. When you were getting, a roll of film, and you maybe say, I'm going to do 10 rolls of film, that's 300. So let's say, however, depends on what rolls you're getting. Let's just say you're doing 300 shots. Well, you need to make sure that they're good shots. Whereas today, you get these guys are like, they're just motoring. The bride's coming down, and instead of really locking on, getting stuff just right, knowing when to take the shot, they don't know when, and they're just, just motoring through it. And then later on in post-production, they're looking at 2,000-3,000 photos for that 6-hour wedding experience, let's say, and they're like, do you know how many hours it takes just to call through 2,000-3,000 photos? And that doesn't even start into the actual cropping, zooming in, zooming out, getting everything just right, changing your Kelvin, changing your color, doing contrasting, whatever you're going to do, burn, whatever. You're talking just crazy amount of hours, and you're just not going to make that up. You just simply, there's no way to make it up. And that is a lot of times what people are doing today. They, you know, they think that they are pros because out of 1,000 images, they get one that's just unbelievable. Well, okay. Well, it took you 1,000 images to get there. The pro will get it done in 5 minutes. I mean, I can tell you that when I shoot celebrity, for example, a lot of times I'll have like 2 minutes, 45 seconds. You know, it's never like 5 minutes to do a celebrity. It's like seconds. Okay, you have this to do. You have whatever, you know, whoever it is. Like we did one gala, it was John Cicada. Okay, so he was singing, he was done. I had like X amount of seconds to be able to take the pictures with him and other people. And it's like you only have a little bit of time. You know, you can't go in there. Can you imagine just motor and just hope that you get it right, and then your light is still off? You know, you need to be able to get it right, and that's it, and know that you got it right in the camera. And that goes back to, like we were saying, education. Two things to sum up. Two things: education, bilateral. Educate yourself, educate your client, and finally, business. You need to learn business, how to sell yourself. If you can't figure out how to sell yourself, you're never going to get anywhere in the creative industry, period. I don't care if you draw, I don't care if you're a photographer, videographer, and if you're doing audio, whether you're doing mixes, whatever it is. If you cannot sell yourself, you're never going to get the work because people are not going to pay you the price that you need to get paid to actually do the work. So once again, number one, you have your bilateral education, and of course, you have to have a good business sense. If not, it's just simply not going to work, you know? So anyways, Trevor, let me just get some final thoughts from you, and then we're going to close this up because I don't want to go past 4 o'clock. We want to keep it short so that, you know, people are in here and they can kind of go about their own day. I want to, before your final thoughts come in, I want to thank every one of you guys that just hung out and waited for us. I know there's a bunch of you on here right now. Thank you so much. If you're watching this, you know, in Memorex after the fact, recorded, that's fine. But if you're here live, I thank you for waiting and just hanging out with us, chatting. I love to see all of those comments and be able to go back and forth with you guys. So if you have any questions, always put them in the comments. We'll try to answer them as quick as possible. I want to start doing this live stuff more often. Hopefully we can get this, you know, OBS combo with YouTube thing down so that we can get this to work and work properly and just go live when we say we're supposed to go live, because I think this is, I like it. It's fun. And I like to be able to communicate with you guys directly and be able to answer those questions and be able to have this back and forth in comparison to me monologuing here and just recording myself. Yep. So anyways, Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say for the new shooters, the emerging pros, those who want to get into the business of photography, the first thing I say is learn your craft. Learn how to make a great product. You know, learn the tools. Like Joe said, educate yourself. Learn how to make a great product. Then learn how much time it takes to create that product. Because time is money. We say that all the time. Time is money. You need to know how long it's going to take you to produce that. Okay? Build your portfolio. Build all this up. Keep track of this. Put in your hours. Put in the 10,000 hours, right? Or whatever it is. 10,000 images and stuff. You know, I mean, that's what you need to do. You have to put your time in. Everybody has to pay their dues. For those who are, you know, professionals, you've been doing this for a while, the landscape has changed. It's not the same as it was even just a couple years ago. And you have to evolve with the industry, not fight it, because you will lose. Apple has too much money and they can get their marketing message out there to talk about how great the iPhone 15 is and that, you know, it'll make, you know, movie quality, you know, cinema quality videos now. You know, you're not going to beat that. So the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. So come up with something that is going to set you apart. come up with solid pricing that's sustainable from a business standpoint. Stick to that price, stick to your guns, and seek out those who have the budgets to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, anyways, guys, once again, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. It's just awesome, awesome, awesome. This channel has grown so fast, so quick. For me, I just feel blessed. It is just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So, the last thing I want to say that is just really important, head over to my website, JCristina.com, also community.jcristina.com. Join the community, join that creative Discord server. There's a lot of great people on there. They answer they're just smart, okay? Like I always say, they're smarter than me, a lot of them. So get in there and, get involved, all right? Get involved. So anyways, once again, thank you very much for every one of you being here. We'll see you in the next video, and hopefully we'll be doing some live more often. Take care, guys. Have a great day.